Racing fans, welcome to episode 5 of the big Group 1 racing show for 2016/17. Now this is part 1 of episode 5. There's about 5 Group 1s coming up this weekend in total, and in this part of episode 5 I'll be looking towards Friday night's massive race, and that is the Moir Stakes at Moonee Valley. It is Chautauqua v Buffering, that's what they're calling it, and well, it's exactly what's going to happen. It will be Chautauqua v Buffering. There's a few other horses in this as well. It is a great field, so let's get straight in to previewing the Group 1 Moir Stakes. So the Moir Stakes will be ran on Friday the 30th of September, 9:30 p.m. at Moonee Valley. The field is a field of 9 horses. As we have a look at the field here, Chautauqua is favourite, of course, at $2.50. The next best is Extreme Choice, who is coming off a really large spell. He's backed by the punters at $4.80. We then have Buffering, of course, at $7. Lucky Hustler at $8. We have Heavily at $13, Redzel at $21, Ball of Muscle, second in the Moir Stakes last year, backed by the punters at $21, Wild Rain is coming in at $23, and then Chloe in Paris rounds out the field and is backed by the punters at $31. So that's the field. Let's have a look now at the field in depth. Okay, let's have a look at number 1, Buffering, who has recently been overseas racing. In fact, won a big Group 1 international race over in Dubai late March. So this horse has been running in some good form. Its last run was in the Chairman's Sprint. That was early May. It came 14th out of the 14 horse field, so not really the best run from Buffering there in that race, but it's a threat in this race. It's probably Chautauqua's biggest threat, to be quite honest, and it's no doubt a chance. From barrier 6, watch out for Buffering. It's definitely a chance to place. Number 2, we have Chautauqua, and since I saw this horse in the Newmarket in the early stages of March, it has won its last 2 races since then, coming first in the TJ Smith and then first in the Chairman's Sprint, which was actually the same race that Buffering ran in. So the difference of that was that Buffering came last and Chautauqua came first. It's the one to beat, clearly the favourite at $2.50. I'm sure Buffering, Extreme Choice, and a couple of other horses that we'll look at will probably give it a bit of a test. But it's the one to beat, in my opinion. It has been one of the best sprinters of the last couple of years now. It was a bit unlucky to not win the Newmarket, of course. It was just beaten on the day by the quarterback, but yeah, it's definitely the one to beat, in my opinion. Number 3, we have Lucky Hustler, who is backed by the punters at $8. So one of the chances in this race, you would say, but it's coming off a 190-day spell. Its last race was actually at Moonee Valley in the William Reid. Of course, Flamberg won that race for Peter Moody's last race as a trainer. So that was its last race. It came 9th out of the 12 horses that day. So this is its first race since then. Hasn't actually had any trial runs, I believe, or any big trial runs coming into this race. So that's going to be interesting to see. It's never won over the 1,000 metres. So that is also another interesting fact. But Brad Ruller on board. It's, I believe, the first time Brad Ruller has been aboard this horse. Glenn Boss has been aboard it in the last 5 races. I could be wrong, but coming out of barrier 2, you'd have to say it's one of the chances, but I guess the factor of coming off the spell and also not winning over the 1,000 metres is is interesting points going to this race for Lucky Hustler. Number 4, we have Ball of Muscle, who will be jockeyed by Kieran McAvoy, backed by the punters at $21. As I mentioned before, came second in the Moir Stakes last year, so I'd have to say though, this horse will probably be one of the roughies to look out for in this race. Second in the shorts out of 10 horses at Royal Randwick a couple of weeks ago on the 17th of September. So you have to put this horse in the roughy category. It's one to watch coming out of barrier 3. The distance will suit. Moonee Valley will probably suit this horse, especially when it came second in the Moir Stakes last year. Definitely a roughie to look out for. Number 5, we have Red Zell, who's backed by the punters at $21. Mark Zahra is on board this horse, and it's coming out of barrier 1, and it came first in its last race, the Heath, over the 1100 metres at Caulfield, 27th of August, so not long ago. It's coming off a 34-day spell, which is not too long. I think, yeah, this horse is an interesting one. Of course, the race will be tough for it, I reckon, because of the field and the quality and stuff, but can't rule it out, I reckon. It's going to be an interesting horse to watch out for. Backed by the punters at $23, we have number 6, Wild Rain, has won its last 2 races. One of them was at Moonee Valley. In fact, that was its last start on the 3rd of September, where it won over the 1,000 metres. So it's definitely capable of winning over this distance. So the distance will definitely suit this horse. I reckon this is a big roughie to look out for, and you'll probably see a bit later on in my roughie of the race. The speed map suggests that it will be out early and probably will be out in front. So as well as Ball of Muscle, who is also one of those horses in that category as well. But yeah, I like its form. 1,000 metres it won over in its last start. Definitely look out for it. Number 7, we have Heavily, who is backed by the punters at $13. Damien Lane will be aboard this horse, and came 3rd in its last run over the 1,000 metres. That was the horse that was the race, sorry, that Wild Rain won on the 3rd of September at Moonee Valley. It came first in the Norman Calon, and also came 3rd in the Oakley Plate earlier in the year. So another horse to watch out for, to be honest. It's probably going to be in the top 5, you would say. It's in some good form, and the distance will suit. Can it take it up to Chautauqua, Buffering, Extreme Choice, etc.? That's the question, but yeah, definitely one to look out for. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm saying to look out for many horses in this preview. It just shows how much quality we have in this field. Number 8, we have Chloe in Paris, backed by the punters at $31. Damien Oliver is aboard this horse for the first time since the Sapphire, where it ran at Royal Randwick on Saturday the 11th of April. Came 6th out of the 12 horses that day over the 1,200 metre journey, so not too bad there. But you know, the distance will suit, but I reckon this race will be a little tough for this horse. It's not really showing the best form going into this race. It's probably showing the worst form out of all the field, which is a bit unlucky to say. But barrier 4, Damien Oliver on board. I guess experience there. You kind of can't rule it out, but going to be a tough race for Chloe in Paris. And rounding out the field of 9 horses, we have number 9, Extreme Choice, a Mick Price trained horse, the second favourite in this race actually. Of course, Craig Newitt will be jockey for this horse for this race, and it came first in the Blue Diamond earlier in the year. It also came first in the Chairman's Stakes. Both of those races were at Caulfield. It's coming off a 195-day spell from its 8th placed Golden Slipper run at Rose Hill earlier in the year, in fact early March. So yeah, that's going to be the question, whether it can come back from a really big spell. But I think that will help this horse, because you could see in the Golden Slipper that it needed a rest, and so it's got that rest. It should come back firing, and I reckon it will be probably in the top 3, I reckon, because this horse can no doubt run the distance. Okay, time now to get straight into my tips, and I mentioned before that this race will be a Chautauqua v Buffering race, arguably the 2 best sprinters in Australia right now, and who will come out on top between those two? I reckon Chautauqua will. I think Chautauqua's just in a slightly better form than Buffering. It's a great horse, and you know, like I said before, I think it's the one to beat, and I don't think it'll be beaten. I think it will win the Moir Stakes, and looking like it will be a great spring for Chautauqua, and also going into 2017, because this horse is absolute quality, and so is Buffering. Second, I'm going to put Buffering at, backed by the punters at $7. It's actually the third favourite, with extreme choice in between Chautauqua and Buffering on the odds. But look, overseas win in Dubai earlier in the year, in fact the late stages of March. You would think it would be the biggest threat to Chautauqua, but I don't think it will beat it. I think it will come second. It will go close, but I think it will come second. By the way, I forgot to mention before that this horse actually won the Moir Stakes last year, so it's already got a Moir Stakes to its name. Can it get another one? I don't think it will. I think it will come second. And then I've put Extreme Choice at third. I think, you know, I probably would have... It's interesting because 195-day spell is a long time, and whether that actually helps a horse, I'm not quite sure, but I believe it does. But I think because of that, it will take a bit of time to get back into the swing of things, and I think it will do well to get third, in my opinion. So Extreme Choice, third for me, from barrier 9. Mick Price trained horse, of course. Craig Newitt, who knows this horse quite well, was aboard at the Golden Slipper and its Blue Diamond win earlier in the year. I think it will come third. And then the roughie of the race, I mentioned before that... you know, I mentioned before a few horses who are definitely roughies to look out for. Ball of Muscle, Red Zell's probably one, heavily backed by the punters at $13. You can't rule that horse out. But I think Wild Rain is one of the biggest roughies in this race, backed by the punters at $23. It's coming off two great wins. Its last run at Moonee Valley, won over the 1,000 metres, actually beat heavily in that race. Heavily came third. I think this horse is in great form. Stephen Baxter on board. It will be one to look out for. And I tell you what, if it slots into the top 3, then I'm not going to be surprised, because this horse is a great runner at Moonee Valley, and it's a great horse, and it's a roughie to look out for, in my opinion. Okay, and that is it for this episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show, episode 5. Of course, there's still a couple more parts to come for episode 5. In fact, the next episode, or the next part of episode 5, will be on Friday the 30th of September, with previews of the 3 big Sydney Group 1s coming up this Saturday on AFL Grand Final Day. That is the Flight Stakes, the Epsom Handicap, and the Metropolitan. So I'll be previewing all 3 of those races on episode 5B on Friday. Of course, the Turnbull Stakes coming up on episode 5C on Saturday. Until the next episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show, I'm Jacob. Enjoy the Moir Stakes. Bye for now.